Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Featherrun, and I sold my $1,500 comp 2011 to move back to a $400 Glock clone. I reviewed the Alpha Foxtrot Romulus in my last video, and I said that even though I recommended it, I was selling it to fund a unicorn. The thing is, that wasn't the main reason that I was selling it for. I wanted to move back to a pistol that would challenge me and help me learn, as I felt that I wasn't getting enough skill growth and development out of that comp 2011. I really wanted to take a big step back.
Dude, I love Fat Tom Cruise.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
I wanted to take a big step back to a pistol that would help me with my fundamentals and help me learn more so than that one would. Before we get into it, the gun that I've gone back to is a Ruger RXM. It's a Glock 19 Gen 3 clone with, as far as I'm concerned, a better iron and optic setup on it. And internally it's stock for now and will stay that way for a while. And on the outside it's wearing a Holosun 509 comp, or 507 comp, can't remember which one, and a TLR7 on the bottom for a light. I'd really like to get the full-size grip module for this pistol, but Magpul's really dragging their feet with releasing it. If you look at the Midway USA website right now, the estimated in-stock date is 2041 because someone over at Midway USA has a sense of humor. Otherwise, I've got 1,000 rounds in the pistol so far. I'm quite impressed, and I'll do a review at about 5,000. So why am I switching? You ever get smacked so hard it changes your perspective on the world? I run a little PCSL indoor match every other week, and I've been beat. I'm not the best shooter there, but I didn't have a fighting chance, but I was doing okay. Right up until a Grandmaster started to show up. And he was running a, not stock, but not raced out Glock 34, and even with my comp 2011, I was just getting the brakes beat off me by him. It really put it into perspective how much more I needed to do and how much the gun wasn't really helping me. And I've kind of talked about that before in the 5.56 AK video where I said, you know, between an AK and an AR, unless you really need it for a specialized purpose, it comes down more to the shooter behind the gun, unless you're in the very tip-top of skill levels. So I've been kicking around the idea for a while to go back to a pistol that's going to be harder to shoot, take the training wheels off, and just relearn the fundamentals from the ground up. This interaction with the GM, whose Instagram I will post right here, that really just solidified my choice to do so, and then the excuse to sell that pistol and get the unicorn even more so. A lesser factor before we get into the meat and potatoes of it. 2011s are a good platform, but they do have some downsides. The reason they blew up in the last few years is because mass production 2011s finally got good enough to where they're reliable. But that being said, they're still not going to be as reliable as something like a Glock, Walter, M&P, or clones of those. The same tolerances that make 2011s nice to shoot are also their downfall in reliability, as of where a Glock or M&P or something like that, you can shoot it, run it dry, shoot it some more, you can get it dirty and shoot it some more, and they just take it all and keep chugging. The mechanical accuracy between a performance gun and a striker gun are going to be acceptable to where, as the shooter, you won't outpace either. The real difference is that with a performance gun like a 2011 or something similar, the trigger, the amount of input it requires from you is a whole lot less, which means you have less to screw up. But there's the issue. If you can run a performance gun like a 2011 really well, but you can't run a striker-fired gun in the same manner, are your fundamentals really where they need to be? You can take a new shooter and put a 2011 in his hands, and he'll do better than if you put an RXM in his hands day one, and that's the gun just masking his deficiencies. So one of the biggest things from a training perspective is that the performance gun is going to cover up your mistakes, and the more basic gun is going to let you see them. If you've got a comped gun and your recoil control is not on point, the comp kind of hides that, as if where if you're messing up with your fundamentals shooting a more basic gun, it'll let you know because it's not going to behave very well. So with this gun, when I fire this, and it doesn't return right back to where it needs to on the recoil, I know that's because my support hand's not doing its job. The more you do wrong, the more the gun can show you do it wrong. Bad grip there, support hand too low. And you could tell it because the gun was coming up and staying up and I was having to bring it back down with a little more effort. A basic Glock isn't going to do the same amount of work to help you out, so the fundamentals that you put into it have to be on point to make it work well. If you've got two shooters who are both at this level, and this guy's running a performance gun, and this guy's running a stock striker gun, shooting at the same level, the guy with the performance gun is actually just down here, and that last, 10% of his skill could all be in the gun. This goes for a lot of skill-based activities, but it works for shooting as well. If you train with someone who can beat the brakes off you like that GM, not can, someone that does beat the brakes off you like that GM, that'll drive you to shoot, and you're playing catch-up to them, basically. If you're playing catch-up to someone who's a whole lot better than you, it makes it more likely that you're going to grow a lot faster. It also goes perfectly hand in hand with a pistol that's going to teach you more fundamentals because it gives you even more ground to make up, trying to catch up to that person and get to a better skill level. So those features of a more performance-oriented gun, like the nice trigger, the good recoil, they're good to have, but they do mask the deficiencies that you can have going into the platform. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying don't go buy the Staccato, the nice Beretta, something like that. As they say, gunfights aren't fair, so putting extra money into a gun that's going to tangibly produce better results almost immediately isn't the worst idea in the world. You have to keep in mind how good you are actually under it, and don't get lax about the training. There's also a few things about switching platforms you have to keep in mind, whether you're going up to a nicer gun or down to a worse one. Most of your gun handling skill will come with you once you've cultivated it. It doesn't necessarily go away, but some minor stuff, mainly something like grip angle, matters a lot still. As you become more proficient and train more, those small differences in platform matter less, but if you train less, you need to keep it in mind more. If you've got the money of a cheap car laying around and you accept the downsides, I don't think a performance gun is necessarily going to be the worst thing in the world to get. It's just, you can run into some issues if you go and you have the performance gun, which is your trainer, and then your duty gun, which is a harder gun to shoot. What can happen is you get lulled into a false sense of security because you're not training for the lowest common denominator, and you go to shoot your duty gun, and suddenly all your skill evaporates because it was really just the race gun doing all the work for you. So in the end, it comes down to your skill as a shooter, and I'm going back to the platform that's going to train me to be the better shooter overall. Performance gun certainly has a lot of benefits, but you do have to keep in mind where your skill lies, and if it's you or it's the gun. My main concern is getting better, so buy a nice pistol, and hello bland polymer framed box. Anyway, the Unicorn, the debut content will be coming to the channel shortly. Hit me up on Instagram, drop a comment. I have been Featherrun. Thank you for watching.
You're the one that's mad because you don't have your fucking
Dude,
egg and backup egg.
Have you heard the phrase malding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just mean mad?
And balding?
Oh, that's what that means?
Yeah.
Malding is mad and balding?
Yeah.